of all the gin joints and all the towns and all the world. And she's got to walk into mine. You know what I want to hear. You played it for her, you could play it for me. She can take it, so can I. Play it. Hey Frankensteins, round up the usual suspects. Michael Ortiz directs Humphrey Bogart, Ingrid Bergman, and Claude Rains in the classic pre-make to Pamela Anderson's Barbed Wire, Casablanca. I saw this movie 20 years ago now, and I remember thinking, this is a good movie, like this is a really good movie, but I'm not sure I see what all the hype is about. It didn't really move the needle as much as maybe it will now that I've loved and lost and fought in the resistance. As Monsieur Gigadois might say. Yeah, that's a classic, no doubt about it. Just revisiting these characters, the setting, the feel of it. This is a classic from the word go. I forgot how funny it was. I remembered the lines, but I didn't know what they meant. The round up the usual suspects. I'm shocked that there's gambling. There's tension, there's romance. I really liked how they handled the romance. They told you in one flashback in Paris everything you need to know about the romance of these two people. There's another film like Mrs. Miniver that takes place in World War II. This time we're in North Africa, in Casablanca, where we meet expatriate Rick, and he owns Rick's Cafe Americain. There are so many different nationalities here. And so you have Nazis, you have French resistance, you have refugees, you have all these people whose main goal is just to get out of the country and hopefully go either to a neutral state or to the United States, which hadn't been in the war yet. Also, again, they're Nazis. Casablanca is based on a play called Everyone Comes to Rick's that was first produced in 1991. So the play was written by Americans Murray Burnett and Joan Allison. They wrote the play after being on vacation in Vienna. One of the things they did was help smuggle money out of the Nazi-controlled territory. Later on, they were in a small town in France and went to a nightclub that overlooked the Mediterranean. And there they saw an African-American jazz singer singing to a group of not only refugees, Jews, French, but also Nazis. From that alone, you basically have Rick's Cafe. Warner Brothers read the script. They said, you know, this is a pretty good schmaltz. They paid $20,000 for an unproduced script that was the most up to that point. Well, Bennett and Allison, after the success of the movie, thought that they hadn't been treated right, and then sued Warner Brothers. But with Casablanca being ready to be reproduced onto VHS, the playwrights, they weren't going to renew the contract. So Warner Brothers gave them $100,000 plus all the rights to produce the play, which they did, which ran for 6 weeks in London. One of the big things that the play contributed to the film, besides the spine of the story, was the song As Time Goes By. A lot of people assume that this song was written specifically for the film, but that's not the case. It was written almost 10 years earlier, and was included in the play because it was just one of the playwright's favorite songs. Max Steiner, who was the composer for the score of the film, decided that he would like to do an original work because that way he'd get residuals. Bergman was unavailable for any kind of reshoots, so they couldn't do that. And the song became a classic. I talked a lot about Bogart in a previous review, and I'll probably talk about him again when I do The Treasure of the Sierra Madre next. So I'm going to skip him for right now, as well as Peter Lorre and Sidney Greenstreet, because I've already talked about them. But I should mention other people in this cast. The piano player Sam, Dooley Wilson, and Humphrey Bogart, they were 2 of 3 Americans in this cast. There were 35 different nationalities presented. One of the strengths of this film really is its diversity. And you can pick this up when they sing the Marseillaise, French national anthem. A lot of those people are crying real tears because they were refugees, or they were people that escaped, or they were German Jews, or they were Russian Jews that had come to America to escape the Nazis. This clip was passed around a lot after some of the terror attacks in France in 2015. The people I want to mention, one is obviously Ingrid Bergman. Wow, did they know how to film her? She's usually filmed with her left side showing because that was the best, and it's just almost dreamlike. I was going to compare this film to a ghost story because she looks like she's shimmering the whole time. Next is Claude Rains as Captain Renault, the head of the Policia. He's very funny. Wow, is he good in this. I can't wait for him to be on screen, and he is just a scoundrel. Just enjoyed him from start to finish. He's smiley, he's a weasel, and he's playing all angles. Then I want to mention Conrad Veidt. Conrad Veidt plays the SS officer, Major Strasser. He came over from Germany with his Jewish wife. While in America, Veidt had in his contract that he would only play suave Nazis because that he was convinced that if he played a Nazi baddie that he would help the war effort. So why is this considered one of the best movies of all time? It's how I look at the movie Seven with Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman. If that hadn't been that director, that cast, with the visuals of it, that would have been a B movie that would have come and gone from the theaters. Casablanca, with any other cast, would have been like 100 other films that were made at that time. Kind of schmaltzy, sort of silly, and kind of romantic, but boy, you put this cast together, and you put the setting. I mean, they rushed this film into theaters because Northern Africa had just been invaded by the Allies. One of the taglines was, "As exciting as the landing in Casablanca." So they really tied this into the war effort. So like Seven, this went from being what could have been a B movie into a real game changer. I've already watched a handful of films from this box set, and I find myself thinking, I'd like to watch that again sometime, or that's happened to a few of them. Mrs. Miniver was one, definitely Grand Hotel, but this is the only one that I thought, as I'm watching this, I can't wait to watch this again. I'm sure I'm missing nuance that just isn't hitting me right now because I'm just being enveloped by it. So I'm giving this, with a new rating system, 5 out of 5 amazings. That's how good this is. So until next week, where our film is Treasure of the Sierra Madre, I'm Uncle Tony.